So as many of you guys know, member of the squad Rashida Tlaib is in a bit of a tough primary re-election matchup right now with Brenda Jones, the former incumbent of Michigan's 13th congressional district. Well, breaking news right now out of The Intercept, apparently Rashida Tlaib's opponent, Brenda Jones, was taking campaign contributions from Quicken Loans executives while she was offering public subsidies to the owner. So you can see here, in November 2017, Brenda Jones awarded $250 million in taxpayer funds to billionaire Dan Gilbert, who, by the way, richest person in Michigan, worth well over $7 billion in his Quicken Loans empire. He owns Quicken Loans, and he also owns a real estate development company known as Bedrock, and that's sort of the main part of this story here. And so she awarded $250 million to Dan Gilbert, and this is shortly after $8,000 in campaign checks from current and former executives at Gilbert's companies were flowing in her way. Now, this is a clear example of, just sort of like what is considered like legal corruption, because Brenda Jones knew whether or not those checks were Dan Gilbert had told people specifically to send those checks to Brenda Jones. Brenda Jones knew that if she didn't help out the friends of the people who were sending the friend of the people who were sending the checks, Dan Gilbert, then she knew that she couldn't count on those checks next time around. And $8,000, guys, $8,000 for a city council seat, because that's where she was at the time, is massive, is enormous. That's a ton of money. Right? So $8,000, if you lose that next time around, you could be in a lot of trouble, especially if those checks go to the opponent next time around, right? So this is just a situation where she gave the money, right? She's taking all this money and then gave away $250 million. Now, Bedrock has also been tied up in a lot of controversies. In 2017, there was a controversial ad which Bedrock was playing to deal with sort of press issues, because people were getting very, very critical of them because they've been doing a kind of a lot of upscale gentrification where they tear down poor neighborhoods and then try to build up sort of expensive apartment blocks. And so they've gotten a lot of heat, basically, and so they started running kind of ads to on TV to try to make people not hate them, I guess. And it ended up being a real disaster because basically all their ads featured all white people when over 80% of the city is black. And so they got a lot of backlash from that. So this is just an example of a company that's incredibly unpopular. The local community doesn't like them, but they keep getting awarded these public contracts in large part because of Brenda Jones. Again, the former president and executive, the former president of the Detroit City Council. So it's a real mess, a real disaster which is going on, and it really just goes to show you how moneyed interests continue to displace individuals, not just in terms of gentrification, not just in terms of individuals, not being able to live in their local communities anymore, getting bought out by rich people, but also in terms of how if only a few rich people own all the property in a local city, own all the property in a local area, then the local residents no longer have any say in their community. They can't direct the affairs of their own community. This is an issue of local governance. This is an issue of being able to control your own life. If all the property is owned by a few people, then individuals don't have any say over their community, and the community values, which the values which that community holds, just rots, just falls apart, and you can't have a community. And it's a really, really big problem. And also, this is on top of another corruption scandal, which I actually made a video about and I covered maybe about a month ago, kind of mid to late April. About a month ago or so. Brenda Jones taking illegal campaign cash from donors doing business with the city of Detroit. So I'm not going to obviously remake this video because I made a video about it again a month ago. But yeah, so she was taking money, and this was a clear instance where it was genuinely illegal. This one here that I was just talking about, not necessarily illegal, but clearly corrupt. This one was illegal, right? The law professors agree that this was illegal, but it doesn't seem like there's much action being done to enforce the law here. And this is really, really important because when you look at the primary polls here right now, you can see, and again, this is well over a month ago, so this is an old poll, but it is the most recent one. Rashida Tlaib ahead, 43 to 34. However, this is a significant gap where before she was well over 20 points ahead. now only 9 points ahead, and this was a month ago. So we've really got to be backing Rashida Tlaib. We can't let corrupt people like Brenda Jones get into office. And besides, Rashida Tlaib has been doing a lot of good fighting for the left. She's done a lot of good work. Maybe not perfect, I'll concede that, and I've even had a few criticisms of her, but certainly significantly, if not like infinitely better than what we're seeing from Brenda Jones. So anyway, that's the video. If you did like it, I would appreciate it if you hit the like button and consider subscribing. Thanks.